In this video specifically, we're looking back at the last 30 days of gapping penny stocks, finding out what strategies worked the most, what the favorable conditions and accuracy rates were, plus stick around to the very end, we've got some gold information for traders. What's up team, it's John with Beginner Trading and we're back today so you can improve your trading game. Like I said in the intro, we're looking back in time and we're really testing these penny stocks so you know what works, why it works, and where it works. If you want to help support your boy here, you can hit the like, hit the sub button below, and if you've ever wanted to be funded as a professional futures trader, Top Step is regulated in the US, it's very cheap, and they funded almost $2 million in withdrawals this year alone. You can get 20% off by going through my link, and I'll include that in the description. Now let's take a look at the actual backtesting.
Okay, so before we get started backtesting and reviewing those results with you all, let's go ahead and take a look at what we're actually testing in this video. We're looking at the 26 EMA and watching for a trend change when it crosses above the VWAP. And so we're really looking at a 26 EMA and VWAP crossover here. And the reason I decided to look into this and ultimately test it is because it looked pretty favorable looking at the last 30 days of gapping penny stocks. And I love using the 26 EMA as well as the VWAP for short-term trend identification. As always, during our backtesting session, we're using what I call the IO method. We're looking back and we're documenting the best gappers every single day. And if it's successful, we give it an I, and if it's a failure, we give it an O. That way, we can kind of calculate the accuracy rate as well as look at the right conditions that help the setup succeed or fail. And so that's what we're looking at. Let's take a look at the backtesting now. Okay, so now that the backtesting is done, we did get some interesting results, and out of the last 30 days on all of my list, we had 21 total instances where this setup actually showed up, and 15 out of those 21 were successful with only 6 failures, giving us an accuracy rate of just over 71%. I think it was like 71.4%, and that's honestly pretty solid, a very profitable strategy if you go by that accuracy rate alone. But there are some subtle things that you can tweak in this setup to give you noticeably better results. And so with all of that said, let's take a look at a few on-demand examples of what I found during this backtesting session, showing you how to approach this strategy in the most profitable way here. Okay, so one of the things that made this strategy really successful in the backtesting session was waiting for one candle to open up after it as confirmation. You know, a lot of the times you'll visually see the crossover, but then if you get a quick reversal, it'll actually reverse the crossover as well. And so by waiting for one candle to open up after I see the crossover, that makes sure the crossover stays there and we get that confirmation. And honestly, simply waiting for another candle to open up after we get the crossover really helps to avoid getting faked out. The next step, once we do make our entry here, is to target the range in between the crossover that we just entered and that previous high of the day level. It's a pretty significant range that we can ultimately attack here, and I think you'll see it fulfill a huge percentage of the time, and this is what really helps it to be really accurate if you can just target that range specifically. One of the ways that I approach this is that I attack the range, and then by the time we hit the top of that range, I'm slowly scaling out of the position. And that way, if we do reject at that previous high of the day, I can understandably get out of the trade. But if we do break that previous high of the day and continue in my direction, I'm still holding some shares to take advantage of. And when you approach it like that, you're really giving yourself the best chance for success. And again, if you wait for another candle to open up as confirmation and strictly attack that range, it's just a really accurate setup that's shown to be really profitable as well. Okay, so for the next example of this VWAP EMA crossover, we're approaching it exactly like the last one, and this stays fairly consistent throughout all of these examples, so I can really hammer in how I'm approaching this new system. And so what we're looking for is we see the visual crossover, we see the 26 EMA cross above the VWAP, but that's not good enough. Remember the last time, we need to wait for a 1-minute candle to open up after we see the visual crossover. And by waiting for that, it's going to really allow the crossover to be confirmed on the chart that everyone else sees. And again, just like the last one as well, we're targeting that range between the crossover, at least the 1 minute after the crossover, up to that previous high of the day. On this example on WWR from October, you can see that previous high of the day is at 485. We're attacking the range between our entry after that first 1 minute from the crossover up to that previous high of the day. And sure, once we get there, we can take a partial position and then try to give it some time to continue breaking out on the upside over that level if we want to. But it's very, very important for you to understand that we're specifically targeting that range. And if you can stay disciplined and only target that range and take at least a partial when we get there, this setup has an incredibly high accuracy rate for you to take advantage of. But we're approaching it the same way every single time, and I do really want to hammer that in here. Okay, so for our last example here, we're looking at JAKK from November, and again, it's just like the last two. First, we want to see a visual crossover. We want to see the 26 EMA push above the VWAP. And then once we get that, just like the last two, we wait for a 1 minute candle to open up after that as confirmation, really confirming the crossover. And once we make our entry there, again, the next step is to target the range between the previous highs of the day and our entry. And in this case, you can see on JAKK, the previous high of the day levels that we're going to use as a reward target are right around 575, 580. And so we're going to sell at least a partial there every single time, because a large percentage of the time it's actually going to reject there. And so if we get stubborn and try to ride huge breakouts, it's just going to reject and it's going to turn into a losing system. But if we always take a profit at that previous high of the day and we specifically look to attack the range here, it's a very high percentage play, over 80%, and I really hope you can take advantage of it.
Anyways, team, that's it for this one. Remember, if you want to help support your boy here, you can check out Top Step. It's a regulated and very cheap funded account program for futures. They funded almost $2 million this year alone for their traders, and it's a great way to get funded if you don't have that much capital. Also, another good way to help support us is by go checking out Trader Mike's Discord. They got a lot of great traders floating around in there, helping all of us out. And if you want to check it out, it's completely free. I'll include that below as well. Good luck in the markets, guys. Remember to take it slow. A lot of traders rush into these different strategies, and just because they work for me, even in testing, they might not work for you, and you definitely want to understand that if you're putting real money on the line. We'll see you all next time, guys. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you all then.